Hello everybody, and thank you for being here, and thank you for allowing me to make this presentation today. I appreciate also that my colleagues made time for me, even though I'm out at McGregor today teaching a dual credit class. I asked to make this presentation because I do feel strongly about this subject. What we're talking about here is whether or not a college or university in the state of Texas should allow someone with a concealed carry permit to bring a handgun on campus. Let me read you a little story before I get started. This was written by a professor in Bakersfield, California. And he's talking about a story that occurred at the University of Nevada, Reno in 2011. He writes, in 2007, a student attending the University of Nevada, Reno was raped on campus and is now suing the university for not protecting her, yet barring her from carrying a handgun on campus. She had a concealed handgun permit. The myth that police can protect her or anyone else at the moment of violence has been well established by the laws of physics. Police, as good as they can be, cannot be in two places at once. For them to be on the scene after knowledge of the need will still take several minutes. Meanwhile, the university has left her a victim, she contends, and in so doing, bears much responsibility for the crime and what happened to her that day. In Texas, we're debating concealed carry on our campuses. And one of the things that will be part of that law is that colleges and universities here in Texas will be allowed to make the decision to opt in or out of concealed carry. It's a very delicate question. Our campuses are far from safe. Over the last decade, in a 2-year sample, we see that there were more than 100 murders, 16,000 assaults, 10,000 forcible sexual assaults, amounting to an average of 9 sexual assaults per day on college campuses across the country. In the Columbine shootings in Colorado, 12 students died. In the Virginia Tech shooting, 33 died. In the Sandy Hook Elementary massacre, 20 students died, 6 adults, including an administrator and 5 teachers. You know, and we almost always all forgot the Amish schoolhouse shooting, where a deranged lunatic killed or shot 10 little girls, killing 5. In the last 15 years, 323 murders have occurred on America's colleges and universities. Last year, a Temple College professor had a knife held to his throat while he was sitting in his car waiting to go to class, checking his mail on his laptop. Fortunately, he had a gun in his car. He was able to retrieve his gun and hold the attacker at bay until the police arrived. It was later found out that that attacker had multiple felony convictions on his record. I'd like to share something else with you, if I may, something of a personal nature. In 1996, on November 1st, my brother was shot and killed. My brother owned a small paving company in Wichita, Kansas. He had 4 children. He was shot and killed by a convicted murderer. A convicted murderer named Eddie Gillespie, who had been paroled by the state of Illinois. What was Gillespie's crime in Illinois? First-degree murder, for which he served 7 years. He then went to Kansas and shot and killed 2 more people with a .357 Magnum that lawfully he should never have been allowed to buy. Laws that restrict gun ownership don't restrict gun ownership for criminals. Now, I know it might seem like an overused cliche, but criminals don't obey the law. You know, I was in the Army for 11 years. I served in the infantry for 11 years. During that time, I was responsible for the security of nuclear weapons. I was qualified to safely use almost every small arm and machine gun in the United States Army's inventory. But yet some here in Texas would tell me that I cannot bring a handgun to school after completing a safety course and qualification course and background check in order to protect myself and my students. And to me, that is simply unfathomable. I have students in my classroom who are veterans, who we've gratefully allowed to defend us in Iraq and Afghanistan, using every type of weapon we can imagine. But when they come back to the United States and they sit in our classrooms, we are telling them, in effect, we do not trust them to behave responsibly with a handgun. America's college campuses are what we in the military would refer to as a soft target. That's why these shootings, this list that I have here of all this death and all this senseless tragedy, that's why they occur on college campuses. That's why they occur in our public schools. Because we have disarmed everyone in those buildings. I speak out today in favor of allowing faculty and students who have passed the proper training and the requisite rigid background check to carry a handgun on campus in order to defend themselves or to defend their fellow students. I speak out because I want the ability to defend my students. I speak out because I look out at my classroom and I see students that I love and care for, and above all, that I trust. Now, what's so remarkable to me, and I'm not here to debate a question of federalism or a question of constitutionalism. I'm here to debate the moral aspects of the law. And what troubles me most is the fact that when you look at the debate that's raging in Austin over this issue, almost all of the people that are going to Austin speaking out against students and faculty members' right to carry a concealed handgun as long as they've been properly certified to do so, the majority of those people are college faculty. Who are college faculty to say that students cannot defend themselves? I would never dream of telling my students that. We have law enforcement protection at most of our college campuses, but at most of our college campuses, they're woefully undermanned. And as this first story that I read to you attests, they can't be everywhere at once. They're usually a very small police department, and they're usually spread very, very thin. We need to augment that by good, law-abiding citizens being able to protect themselves on our campuses, on our college campuses and universities. I appreciate you allowing me to take this time to state my opinion. I know it's a very tough issue. You're going to hear a very different side of the debate when I'm finished talking to you. And it's a very worthy debate. There are good points to be made on both sides. But the point I won't equivocate on, and the point that I think needs to be made and stressed here, is that everyone in this country, according to the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution, of which we're all familiar with, and of which we're all going to talk about, I'm sure, at length today, American citizens have the right to defend themselves. I appreciate your time, and I thank you very much for coming to this presentation.